relationships, but I always tell them straight up that I'm a commitment phobe. Growing up without a mother did that. All three Remington brothers sucked at relationships. Unlike Trace, at least his two siblings hadn't been stupid enough to knock up a woman with zero maternal instincts. A tremor of guilt slid through Trace. Ben was the best thing to ever happen to him, but being a single father of a special needs kid required every minute of Trace's time, every ounce of his energy, every bit of his focus. Precisely what had caused him to mess up so badly as a pilot in Los Angeles and forced him to make the decision to move back to Angel Fire Falls, where he had a support network. Flying vacationers from Camp Celeste to the island in his 8-seater floatplane and giving aerial tours was a lot less demanding. It was also a lot less stressful leaving Ben with family. "Seriously, bro," Spence walked around to the other side of the table. "Now that we're all living on the island again, you can at least go out on a date once in a while. Between Elliot, Dad, and me, we've got Ben taken care of. You don't have to live like a monk just because you're a father." "Women are distracting." Trace's tone went flat. "My son has been through enough." For Ben's sake, Trace couldn't screw up again. And since Ben's mother offered no help whatsoever, Trace couldn't get sidetracked by a woman. "Relationships are distracting, not women," Elliot said. "Big difference." Trace shook his head. "Both are complications I don't need. End of discussion." He pulled over a bar stool and perched on the edge. Spence's next shot hit a small wrinkle in the worn felt that covered the old pool table and missed the pocket. "The table needs to be recovered." "No kidding." Trace got up and looked for the cleanest shot. "The entire place needs an overhaul." Which was why their dad had hired some hotel executive as the Remingtons' new hospitality manager, to bring a fresh face and a new breed of clientele to the place. Someone who might transform the Remington into a place they no longer recognized. That had Trace's fatherly instincts rattled. Trace leaned over and lined up his shot. He'd been back in Angel Fire Falls longer than his siblings, 2.5 years as opposed to Spence's 6 months and Elliot's 9 weeks, and had learned to play pool around the wrinkles, memorizing every bump and snag in the felt, just like flying around severe weather and turbulence. Ben's Asperger's syndrome might prevent him from picking up on social cues or tolerating change without having a meltdown, but the boy could rack 'em and stack 'em. So Trace had played 1,000,001 games of pool. Pool seemed to be one of the activities Ben zeroed in on like a laser beam. "Dad's convinced the new manager will have the know-how to breathe life into this place again. I guess we'll see, because she's flying in this afternoon. Dad says she's catching the ferry to the island, but I've got to take a few guests who are checking out to Cape Celeste, so I'll bring her back with me." Trace let his stick fly, and the cue ball cracked against the solid red number 3. It disappeared into a corner pocket. Trace already taking aim on the purple number 4. "Dad asked me to generate a budget so the new employee has something to work with," Elliot said. Graduating at the top of his class at Wharton, he'd practically set San Francisco's financial district on fire. After 6 years of working 24/7, he'd finally burned out and showed up on the Remington's doorstep for Christmas. No warning, no explanation, just a suitcase full of expensive suits he'd never bothered to unpack. I don't know what changes she has in mind, but they'll have to be implemented over time. The resort's bank account isn't empty, but it's not overflowing either. Spence rubbed the scruff on his jaw. Dad's let the place decline the past few years. I've already got a list of repairs as long as the island. As a builder, Spence had a talent for land development and had built quite a reputation throughout the Pacific Northwest until something had gone terribly wrong with one of his partners, and Spence had shown up at the Remington for a visit and never left. Our guests are mostly older folks. Where did all the family vacationers go? And I can't help but wonder why a big city hotel exec would want to live on this little vacation island and work for the Remington.